Hi, I'm Deborah Lamont. I'm intuitive wellness minister and practitioner. So, what does that mean to you? It means that I help people through challenging transitions or that have had traumas. And one of the hats I wear is I am an intuitive celebrant. What does that mean? It means that I work very holistically, very spiritually with my clients, and they tend to have an afterlife belief system. And so I work with the living and the deceased. And when I'm called to see a family, I will connect very quickly to their loved one that's passed. Sometimes I connect to them before we've actually met. It may be through music, it may be through a poem, it may be through an interest. I remember being on the treadmill once and exercising and felt very strongly that I needed to watch ice skating dancing from previous Olympic medal winners. And so I started watching that. And then when I went to see a client a few weeks later, I realised that that's how they met. And so for me, I have an understanding that I'm connecting to the higher consciousness of the person that has deceased. And they're lining up to me so I can care for them, care for their family in their transition, and I walk the deceased into the light across the threshold, whatever your belief system is. I will light a candle when I'm doing my funeral services. I will invite the deceased in to connect with me while I'm creating their service. Sometimes they're a little bit more vocal than other times. They communicate on a stronger level. It could be that I'm searching for a poem that goes within their service, and they're asking me to put a particular poem in place because it says what they want to say to their loved ones. Or sometimes I adapt the poem and I put their words and their thoughts within the poem, and then I can share it with the family and friends at the funeral service. Sometimes I have messages for the family, not always, but sometimes, and I will pass those messages on to my bereaved family if they are in the belief system of the afterlife. If they don't have that belief system and we haven't explored that, then I do all of that quietly, and I send God's love and God's prayers to the family, and I do the work unseen. The day of the funeral, I can pick up the energy of the family, how they're feeling, what they're thinking as a collective energy. And I'm learning to recognize that sometimes when I'm feeling anxious or very nervous or feeling very grief stricken, it's not my grief, it's the family that I'm working with, or it could be the deceased that I'm picking up at this time. Because in my experience, sometimes when the loved one leaves us in their transition, it's not always their choice as such. They do feel grief, they do feel the loss and the separation from us. And I've had that very personally with a friend of mine that passed away 2 years ago this August. And it's taken her a long time to feel at peace on the other side. And I wouldn't say that I particularly worked with her because that wasn't my job. But I certainly aided in her transition when she left us. And I've worked with people that her family members that are this side, and I've created the wellness within their grief throughout the 2 years. So, yeah, that's what I do as an intuitive celebrant. I do wear a few other hats. I do alternative bereavement support as well. I care for people that have lost their loved ones, not as a medium. So it's not about bringing validation of their loved one living on in a different lifetime. It's bringing healing to what needs to be said, spoken, and for both parties to move on in their lifetime. I did work with a client of mine who sadly lost his wife, and I brought his wife into our healing space, and I was the medium to communicate between them, and for them both to let go, and for the lady to walk on in spirit, and for her husband to walk on in lifetime, to move on whatever he chooses to do in wellness and happiness. So yeah, that's a little bit of what I do. I love what I do. I'm very passionate about alternative funeral services. I'm not a Christian minister. I was ordained as an interfaith minister, but I'm not a Christian minister, and I'm not a humanist. And humanists don't have afterlife beliefs. but I'm in the middle. So if anybody that is looking for a funeral service that has an element of spirituality, element of faith within it, then please contact me on my website, which is www.deborahlarmore.co.uk, or you can Instagram me, Deborah Larmore, or you can Facebook me, which is Deborah Larmore Bournemouth. And if I can help you in any way, if I can just offer you a little bit of guidance, or if you just want to send me an email and share your experience with me, I'd be delighted to hear from you. And I'm sure their loved ones in spirit world will too. So take care till we meet again. Bye bye.